retaining the experts at home to help develop their own countries. And the issue is, why does the government don't increase in this field the support to students? The issue is budgetary constraints. Budgetary constraints. The economy has been squeezing for a long time. We have prolonged crisis, and this is the issue. And we think that really the outcome of that situation should be that the United Nations set up a fund for supporting scholarships, for granting scholarships to students which meet some requirements of talent, requirements of capacity and skills to benefit from those scholarships. I think I will make of that one of the issues, concrete issues to be addressed during the conference.
Yes, absolutely, because I think the United Nations would not find it difficult to establish a clearinghouse of scholarships, centralized, so that people who need assistance can apply. We used to have, in the past, we had books and databases of scholarships that were available for foreign study abroad. And surely the United Nations can take charge of such a database. But I have a question that I would like to ask from the young lady from Salvador, El Salvador, who asked that question. I want to know, aren't there some universities in El Salvador? Why did you have to come out of El Salvador? Is education so bad in El Salvador? And number two, is education free or is it paid in El Salvador? What was the incentive for you to leave El Salvador to come to Vancouver?
First of all, education back home doesn't compare to the levels that I can receive in a developed country. Education is so much better in foreign countries, developed countries that have experience in the areas. Second, there are not many universities, and they didn't actually offer what I wanted, and there is practically no opportunities there, so that's why.
Okay, but is education free or paid in El Salvador?
Paid.
Paid. Is it expensive or cheap?
Some universities, the good ones, are very expensive compared to the income people get, and there are a couple of them that they are not very expensive, but they are not as good.
I see. So we have a problem, and this is a concrete problem, and I think it's quite easy to take it up in the conference. For
a lot is being done by member states bilaterally. Member states are really involved. I know that, for instance, we have with Canada, Benin has with Canada, a program we call of excellence. The best students from baccalaureate who has a degree we call mention bien or très bien, which is honors or excellent, they get a scholarship to go and study in Canada. And we have such programs also with other countries, and I think such possibilities has to be further developed. But better again is if we make the issue of training a global issue and we develop global solutions to them.
Absolutely, because these developing countries can give 10 scholarships or 20 or 100 scholarships. We are talking in terms of millions.
Hundreds of thousands.
It cannot be handled by developing countries. It has to be handled globally. Over to Feli Dickinson at Metro for 2 questions from there.
Ambassador, and I suppose other students as well. While a lot of the ideas that we've discussed today sound fine in theory, they all seem to involve increasing public spending and/or increasing the size and role of governments. Considering the current public backlash against so-called big government and a near obsession with reducing deficits, how can we generate the political will necessary to not just stop but reverse this trend and convince the public and governments that we actually need to increase rather than decrease funding for youth opportunities such as university scholarships, global travel, free or affordable access to technology, and paid internships?
Thank you. Second question.
I believe we only have one from here, sir.
Okay. The question is that I think this is a very US specific question, because in the United States there is a backlash against government, and they say let it be a free for all, let the market determine everything, and government should get out of it. But we come back to the basic problem which I had asked you, which was that education is a public service. It is not a for-profit institution. And so to allow the market to determine education is to go against the basic idea, which is that it is the duty of society, namely of government, to educate its youth.
Definitely, you are right. We are addressing this issue very at the level of the UN. It's not only as a US specific issue, it's a global issue. How to invest more in youth, how to invest more in training, in education of young people, and in giving them the opportunity of first job, because most of the time the most difficult for young people is to find the first job after receiving training. And it's a matter of priorities, setting priorities, and there should be more mobilization in favor of changing the prospects of priorities of government. In developing countries, you will say rather the situation is availability of resources. Because in my own country, I think rather, at least one third or even 40% of the budget is spent on education system, on the three levels of education system, primary education. And we have, for instance, in Benin, declared free and compulsory primary education for all children. And this is being implemented. We are building thousands of schools to implement that decision. And this is a priority for the government. And I will say, if the government had more resources, it will do more for education. But in other countries, the issue may be the right priorities. Where do the government put the priorities? Is the priority on developing arms? Is the priority on acquiring arms? Or the priority on supporting basic social services? And as Ambassador Kamal said, I do agree 100%, education should be a public service, and as health also is to be. It's a matter of mobilization. The parliaments should be brought to make the right decisions, because the parliaments do allow state budget, so do authorize the government spendings. There should be more priority in favor of education, in favor of bringing education system all over the world to the world standard. There should not be any ghetto of education around in the world. I think this is a very important issue, and education has to be made free at all levels. One thing which is to accompany such a freedom of such free education should be the selection mode. We should select at each level the best people to promote, to access the the upper level of education. We cannot manage a society in which everybody is doctor in something. This is something that we have to, so to say, do at a level of selection. There should be a real social stratification where the pyramid of generation should be kept in accordance to the development prospects of the country, which means that the best from secondary school should go to university, the best from university should be promoted to study to further study and to devote their lives to scientific research and so on. But we need really to have a middle class society. We need to have to develop more possibility for young people who don't want to go further to really involve in productive activities.